It's Dothan High School Wolves football on your home for great country legends. 96.9 The Legend. And now it's the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show. I am Philip Jordan, in-studio host and producer of Dothan Wolves football on 96.9 The Legend. Each week, Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert sit down with Dothan Wolves head football coach Jed Kennedy to review the previous game and preview the upcoming opponent. Tonight, Coach Kennedy will discuss the off week after a tough loss to Carver and previews tomorrow night's game against High-Opelika. We will take a quick break, but when we return, Jerry Coleman and Ken Lambert will be joined by Coach Kennedy right here on 96.9 The Legend.
Well, Coach Kennedy, welcome back after a probably deserved week off last week with the team, kind of halfway through the season here. But before the last week, the team was off. Carver came in to Riphew Stadium. Another one of those games, coaches, where team leaves with a victory by 7 points. Kind of your thoughts about the Carver Wolverines game 2 weeks ago.
Well, obviously they're very talented, as you saw with just what we talked about. They have Division I prospects all over the field, and it's unfortunately another game of 2 or 3 plays that if they go one way. We probably have got 7 more points than the other team, but they haven't. And, I've said it all along, we play in the SEC West of high school football, and, ultimately 2 things have got to happen, I think, to be, to come out on the end of these really tight games against really good teams is you got to get the ball to bounce your way a few times. You got to catch a few breaks, and you got to stay healthy. And the reality is we haven't caught many breaks the last couple of weeks, and we're not very healthy. And that's a bad recipe. I was, looking back, actually rewatching a film this morning, and, I'll just give you 2 prime examples of how one play can change it. We had the ball, or they had the ball 2nd and 13. They fumbled back-to-back snaps going in, and, great calls by our defensive staff. They fumbled, meshed on the handoffs. Both balls hit the ground. We have 4 defenders around the ball. The ball bounces right up, back into their quarterback's hand. He falls on the ball. Back-to-back plays. And, it's frustrating for the fans. It's frustrating for the kids. It's frustrating for us coaches. And, the last 2 years, those balls probably bounced our way, and we just didn't. Well, they end up on 4th and 18, throwing a pass in double coverage to the kid going to Texas A&M. They catch it. And, so it's literally – that's a 3-place situation that, mathematically, once the ball hits the ground and 4th and 18, it's probably a 95% chance, those are going to come out in the Wolves' favor, and they just didn't. So, it's frustrating, but, it's, the one thing I'll say about our kids, they're resilient. We've had a great week of practice, getting ready for another tough High-Opelika team tomorrow. Last week, we're able to get, rested up mentally and physically and try to get some of these kids back healed up. So, it's another, literally lost 3 games to 3 top 5 teams in the state by 1 score. It's hard to swallow. It's tough, but like I told somebody, we knew what we were getting into when we took this job. We knew the region that we were in, all you can do is get up the next day and continue to work, and that's what we've done, and that's what our kids have continued to do.
Coach, you mentioned injuries, and obviously the injury to your quarterback, to Sam Broadway, as he. I believe it was on a run. He got hit there on the sideline. Looked like an ankle. I know he tried to come back second half on a pass play. You could tell he just wasn't confident in it. So was the off week helpful enough that he might be able to go?
He practiced this week, which was good. He got hurt the second offensive snap of the game. We played, we played against the number 4 team in state without a quarterback. We threw the ball 4 times. And obviously they knew that, and they continued to – I think by the second half they had 11 guys within 5 yards of the football. And, what's crazy was we tried 4 trick plays, and people were open every single time, because they were just committed to the run, obviously Sam's a competitor. He tried to go back in, and he just couldn't, and at some point you got to look at the long-term, health of getting him back at some point. It just came where, he could not run. He couldn't move. And obviously with – a team like that, that's got the pass rushers they do to try to throw it and stuff. But that was certainly I think if you talk to anybody, if there's one position that you can't lose, it's quarterback. And our two backups are young kids. They're sophomore kids, just not ready right now. And, like I said, it sounds like a broken record, but, with all the adversity we had and all the injuries we had, we still had the ball inside the 20-yard line with a chance to tie the game at the end. And just couldn't make enough plays at the end to get it done.
Well, and in the same light, hats off to T.J. Vickers, who came in and took a lot of those snaps. And I know, the kind of the throwing option is out the window there, but it's more than just the passing. It's the whole rhythm of the game. It's getting calls that maybe he's not used to making in the huddle or trying to get from the sideline. And I thought he did with the pressure on, did a good job, or as good as you could expect him to do. So hats off to him and trying to fill that position and make the best of it. Thought he did a good job.
Did an awesome job. We talked about, if we went into the game and thought that TJ was going to play 55 snaps at quarterback, I think we probably would say that's probably not going to happen. And just did to me, it's what you want your program to be. It's a senior who doesn't miss days. He works his tail off. He's a team player, plays multiple positions. He's played halfback for us this year. He's played slot. And he's played a little bit of quarterback against Monroe. So for him to go in there and really take leadership of that huddle and, really not miss a beat in the running game, just certainly him. And, so it's just, even with him back there this week, tomorrow against High-Opelika, it's just going to be better as he's had, 2 weeks to prepare for it.
And Coach, and talking about injuries earlier, with Aaron Scott being out, you made a few position changes defensively. And I know that first week, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that first game against Carver was kind of like the first game you saw those kind of changing of positions. What did that look like on film after y'all saw it during the Carver game?
Played really good. Our defense, they got, the running backs going to Alabama, and they got a junior that's, I think been offered by Alabama. And they had under 100 yards rushing. We did a great job. It just was, it's can you get off the field on third down? And they had the kid made just an unbelievable throw on 3rd and 17 where TK Knight went underneath it. Kid made a juggling catch, caught it. They scored 2 plays later. They scored on 4th and 18. So it's just ultimately comes down to getting off the field on those third downs. And unfortunately for us, it's been getting killed on 4th downs. But again, I thought the defense from where things were 2 weeks ago, again, the injuries mounted up there. We finally have settled in some positions. We've made some moves. Played Kerry Gatlin down at outside linebacker to let Ezekiel Scott go back and play defensive line. And Ezekiel was awesome against Carver. Man, he was good. And that's where he belongs. You got to have your playmakers in spots where they can make plays. And for Ezekiel, that's at defensive end. So, yeah, it was, again, it's like I said, we're all frustrated. And nobody's more frustrated than our kids and our coaches. And, again, it's a life lesson. It's like I said, we signed up for this. We knew what we were getting into, but they've continued to have great weeks of practice, the last 2 weeks, and the staff has had a great 2 weeks, and, excited to go out and play another great, football team tomorrow night in High-Opelika.
Coach, I guess the off week came at a good time. I know it was a little topsy-turvy. You missed a little bit with the storm, and from that sense, we didn't have to postpone a game because we were already off. But what has this off week meant to you we've talked about the physical standpoint, but just from a reset, get ready for a second half standpoint?
Yeah, you essentially have a couple options when you schedule your open week. You can do it, the second game. Most people are not going to do that. So it ultimately comes down to, do you want to play week 11 or do you want to play halfway through the year? And I think that, the reality is this: we have 85 kids in our program, 10 through 12, and we play in a physical region, and we know kids are going to get banged up. And we look at it as there's the first half of the season, the second half of the season. It gives us a break in between. So, Monday we came in and lifted with the kids. Did not practice, let them go home after school again to get mentally recharged. And then we practiced Tuesday after school for an hour and a half, which is short for us. And then Wednesday, we practiced 45 minutes in class, 45 minutes after class. So again, it had great work. And we weren't going to practice Friday anyways because we were going to go scout. So really all we lost was an hour and a half after school practice on Thursday. And we're going to find a way to make up that time. We made it up this week, and we have had a really, really good week of practice. And Hopefully that'll carry over to how we play tomorrow night. But, again, you can just, this is a grind, and I tell people all the time, football didn't start the first week of August. We give the kids, you go through spring football, we give our kids 2 weeks off. We've really been going since the beginning of June, so if you think about it, June, July, August, September, that's, 3 months of really, really intense, actually 4 months, really intense football with practice. And it just was good for us to get a recharge, for those kids and ready to finish strong here the second half.
Well, Coach, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to talk about tomorrow night's game where the High-Opelika Bulldogs comes into Rip Pugh Stadium for another regional matchup. You're listening to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits, 106.7 KMX, Today's Country, 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7. Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just a beginning.
Welcome back to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend. And Coach, tomorrow night, first-year head coach at Opelika, Brian Moore, comes in with a Bulldogs team that's 5-1. Only loss they've had this year is against Auburn. Kind of a team you've seen for probably the last 6 years. They've kind of reloaded a little bit, maybe at quarterback. But what have you seen so far out of watching some film on the Bulldogs?
Well, I think number one, I think the thing that sticks out, which really you probably wouldn't know from film, but they have over 40 seniors on their team. And, I don't care who the coach is. When you have over 40 seniors on a football team, you got a chance to be successful. They start 11 seniors on defense and 8 on offense. So they're starting 19 seniors. So a very experienced team. A lot of scholarship football players on their team. They've, probably a little bit. I think they were 5-5 the last 2 years, and we were able to beat them in close ball games both years. But if you look at it, they easily could have been 8-2, 7-3 both of those years. So they're a very good football team. They're well coached. They're big. It's probably gonna be the biggest defensive line we faced. Like I said, just very experienced. They've got a transfer linebacker from Auburn High School who started at Auburn last year. He's a senior. So again, certainly have our work cut out for us. Got to get stops. When they have the football, they've got their running back. Man, is he good? Number 6, a big kid, 6'1", 220 pounds. They've got a fullback, 250 pounds. They have quarterbacks, a transfer that moved in. And they've got a slot receiver, number 3, that's got Sun Belt type offers. So, kind of what you see every week in this region, right? Scholarship players and, a lot of size and a lot of speed. But, like I said, we've had a great week of practice and, certainly ready for tomorrow night.
Hey, Coach, when you look at their offensive scoring, they're at the top of really the region. They're in the top 2 or 3 and scoring in the 30s and look to be pretty stingy on defense. For me, I remember maybe a couple of weeks ago as you were just kind of going through the schedule of this gauntlet that the Wolves have been going through here. You mentioned we have to play Opelika after that, and they're a physical football team. Talk a little bit about how physical they play.
Yeah, I think really both programs probably pride themselves in the same thing, play great defense and run the football. And I mean, they're just, they're very physical, especially on defense. I mean, they're big. I mean, they've got the Autry kid committed to Auburn. He's 6'5", 330 pounds. They've got a defensive end, number 91, Smiley, committed to South Alabama. I think he's 6'2", 255. So, they're big, they're physical. They've got a great D line. People have really struggled to move the ball on them, I will say. And I would think probably that Coach Moore would probably agree with this. They haven't, outside of Auburn, they've got what I think people would probably say, outside of themselves, are the next best 4 teams coming up in the region. So they're going to get tested, so they know how big of a game this is for them and what I'm sure their season goals are, and we're going to get their best shot. And but yeah, they're physical. Again, they run the football. They do not throw the ball a ton. When they do, it's a lot of play action shots and a lot of bootlegs and naked passes. But again, it's kind of like I said, we certainly run different systems offensively, but I think if we sat down, probably philosophically in both programs, very similar.
And Coach, talking about their offense with Calvin Huey, the number 6 you're talking about, big kid, runs the ball a lot, takes a lot of carries, but like you said, you mentioned their fullback, they will give him the ball as well, but they'll kind of run that power eye and kind of run like Dothan, actually tackle to tackle. How's that set up? And we talked about our defensive front, defensive 7. How does that set up for defensive for Dothan tomorrow night?
Well, I mean, I think, I still believe that one of the strengths on our defense is our defensive line. It's probably the one position we do have a little bit of depth at, where we can roll, 4, 5, 6 different guys in there. And against a team like this, you're going to have to be able to do that. You can't, when somebody's running between the tackles, if you watch when people play us, they play a lot of people on defense. It's just a very taxing system to play against. And they're the same way. I mean, they will, the kids had over 30 carries in games. I mean, they will pound the ball off tackle, all day. And the kid is very, very talented, and he doesn't need much of a crease, and he's going to make a guy miss, and he's going to, he's going to break a tackle, and he's gone, so it's, like I said, he presents problems just because of, it's people say what back is the toughest, the small, quick one or the big, strong one. Well, to me, it's the one that's both, and that's what this kid is. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he gets out in the open, you don't catch him. So, like I said, certainly have our work cut out for us with us. And, our thing is, I think the last couple of weeks, with how good the offenses were, we've really leaned on our offense to keep their offenses off the field and be able to get first downs. And, we have to do that Friday night. We want to shorten the game, want to run the football, want to get first downs, have to convert third downs. But I think, the one way he can't beat us is if he's standing on the sidelines, and we can't do that by going 3 and out. We got to get first downs. But, to be honest with you, that's going to be a challenge with what they present defensively. But, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Traditionally it's been really good football games between the Wolves and Opelika. Obviously, the last time they were here was a really good game, and then last year up there was a really good game. And you come out on top on both of those. And this is the last chance for a few weeks now that the home crowd will get to see the Wolves. You go on the road for 3 weeks, so want to make sure that everybody has a chance to come out and watch this team and watch another great football game.
Yeah, we got it's just been a crazy schedule. We've been home 4 out of the first 5 games, and then or 5 out of the first 6 games actually counting tomorrow. So we're on the road for a few weeks. So a chance again. It's just it's just really good football, really good brand of football from both teams, and a chance to watch some college football players, and obviously we've got great atmospheres at Rip Hughes on Friday night, and our crowds have been great. And just certainly we've got to continue to make that sure that the home field advantage is the home field advantage. And people have always expressed that it's a tough place to come and play, and we've got to make sure that we've got that again tomorrow night.
Coach, and just kind of wrap it up, but you mentioned, Sam's healthy, coming back, quarterback position. Any other kind of banged up players that may get limited play tomorrow night from the original starters?
No, we're going to have, everyone's ready to play. Again, I think at this point of the season, I think there's probably not a football team that doesn't have people banged up. We've got sore shoulders, and people have got sore ankles and sore knees and backs that hurts, but that's just part of it. But we're, again, it's, I think if you can put a perfect time to have an open week, this was obviously it. And, or I should say last week, and we're off that. It gave us 2 weeks to prepare for a really good football team. But I think even more important than that, get ourselves back, those players healthy and refreshed and ready to make a push here in the second half.
Well, that'll wrap up tonight's Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend. Make sure that if you don't make the game tomorrow night, you can listen to us live here on The Legends 96.9. But please come out to the game, the last home game, like Ken mentioned, for at least 3 weeks. So come out and see the Wolves tomorrow night. You've been listening to the Jed Kennedy Coaches Show here on 96.9 The Legend.
You You've been listening to Dothan High School Wolves football, exclusively on your home for great country legends, 96.9 The Legend.